Very good afternoon to all present here, all the members who have joined with us for the MCA user awareness session on annual filing offline utility. I, Surbhi Jain, on the behalf of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, welcome all. So now I invite CS Ashish Karodia, Central Council Member, ICSI, for his opening remarks. So, please.
Thank you, Surupi, and good afternoon, everyone. I, CS Ashish Karudia, Central Council Member, ICSI, on behalf of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, extend a very warm welcome to the officers from the e-governance cell, MCA, and the technical team from LTI for joining us today uh, for a detailed deliberation on the annual filing offline utility under the EEE 5.0 Master Knowledge Series. At the outset, the ICSI conveys its sincere gratitude to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs for extending the annual filing due date. This gesture has provided much needed relief to stakeholders and has significantly supported smoother and more efficient compliance management. We also extend our thanks to MCA for organizing this informative user awareness session on the annual filing offline utility, which will greatly assist company secretaries in understanding the update filing process under the MCA 21V3 system. Such proactive and collective initiative truly strengthen the governance ecosystem and enhance the ease of doing business in India. Friends, the MCA 21V3 offline utility is a transformative steps in annual filing by integrating an Excel-based offline tool with the web portal. It enables seamless compliance for forms such as AOC4, MGT7, MGT7A, and other annual filings. The utility autofills financial data, historical filings, and key company information, allowing professional to complete the remaining details offline. This has been particularly beneficial for user facing inconsistent internet connectivity or dealing with a large volumes of data. The approach reduces manual errors, supports bulk uploads, and facilitate better collaboration among compliance teams and operating from different locations. However, while this offline utility is a commendable advancement, we would also like to highlight certain practical challenges and members are experiencing during the members are experiencing during the current filings cycle. Based on the feedback received, the overall filing percentage still remains relatively low, around 30%, and severally professional continue to face technical hurdles. In many cases, the exact reason behind systems generated errors are not clearly displayed, forcing users to rely on trial and error methods to diagnose the issues. This naturally leads to delays and affect the overall filing process. Along with this, I would also like to highlight some regular issues that members are facing, such as size of attachment being within the prescribed limit, and yet the form is not being accepted. Form MGT7 already approved but unable to file again for revising the return. CSR2 upload issues, errors indicating invalid project ID even when the data is correct, validation errors such as a negative profit and loss figures not being accepted in AOC for CFS, DSC registration errors for MGT7 despite DSC already registered. In few cases, MCA master data is reflecting only preference share capital, not equity share capital, and many more. So members are spending unequal time resolving these technical glitches, which is affecting filing timelines and causing avoidable stress. Additionally, the recent changes in definition of small companies has also raised concern. In certain cases, the portal is evaluating eligibility based on the new definition, but it should be applying the earlier definition for the relevant financial period. This mismatch is clearly creating confusion and inconsistency for stakeholders. Although MCA is continuously releasing updates and improvements, these issues will still impact end user experience, and overall filing efficiency. In light of these challenges, I believe today's session become more significant. We are confident that the insights shared by the officers and from the e-governance cell, MCA, and the technical expert from LTI will help clarify these concerns, other practical solutions, and give us a deeper understanding of the functionalities. This MCA user awareness session aims to equip company secretary with comprehensive knowledge of the utility features, its purpose, and its importance in ensuring smooth and compliant annual filings. The deliberation today will empower all of us to guide companies more effectively, reduce the risk of filing rejections, and uphold a strong governance standard in evolving MC21 ecosystem. We warmly welcome all the distinguished speakers and participants. I am confident that today's discussion will enrich our professional capabilities and address many of the ongoing challenges. So please feel free to post your queries. They will be taken up at the end of the session. With this, once again, I welcome you all and thank you for taking the time for joining us today. And also, I acknowledge the presence of Shri Sashi Daraji, Director Public Grievances, Director General of Corporate Affairs, MCA. We welcome you, sir. And now I would like to request Surbi to kindly continue the session.
Thank you so much, sir, for these opening remarks and setting the tone for the session for the members. And on the behalf of ICSI also, we welcome Sri Shashi Raj Dara sir from the DG office, MCA. And now I would like to have the LTI team, Vijay Gumpena and Ankit, to deliberate on the topic and resolve the issues and give their insights on the topic. Vijay, over to you, please.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah, very good afternoon to everyone. This is Vijaya Gumpena. So, in today's session, we'll be talking about offline utility, which we have introduced for AOC 4 forms. And this facility is available for MGT 7 and 7A also. In today's topic, we will cover mostly on AOC 4 forms, offline utility, what are all the functionalities, what is offline utility, how we have to use this utility, and what are all the key pointers that we need to know before using this utility. So let us begin the session. So we will be talking about, these are all the areas we will be talking about in this current webinar. What are all the key enhancements that we have done in annual filing forms, whether it could be online form or offline form, and the logic for linked filing. So we have introduced a concept called linked filing in V3 system for both online and offline. So we will quickly run through the linked filing applicability of different annual filing forms in V3 system. And then we will talk about what is the offline form, what are all the basic fields that you need to fill in the web layout. And then we will show a sample PDF for the sequence of the filling of the form, what all key parameters that you need to know before entering any data in the respective fields, whether it is web layout or in the Excels. This is the agenda of today's session. So to begin with, these are all the few key form enhancements that we have done in V3 system. These are not just applicable for offline, it is applicable for both online and offline, and it is for all the forms that we have deployed till now in V3 system. So as we all know, the first point is introduction of web-based forms, thereby reducing the manual efforts. It is basically, if you compare it with V2 system, all V2 forms were PDF-based forms, wherein we have converted all the forms into a web-based forms in V3 system. So that you can, your form is divided into multiple sections. You have save options at each section level so that you can, all the validations will be done then and there only, so that you can reduce errors at the end of the form, wherein in V2 system, you have to fill the entire PDF and then click on check form to get your field level validations. Whereas in web form filings, so you will get all these errors or the field level errors the moment you click on a save on the form, form is basically bifurcated into different sections. And linkage of the forms basis the purpose of the filing an option is selected. So this concept of linked filing is basically whenever you're filing a parent form, so the system will mandate you to file certain linked forms. This concept of linked forms were they basically limited to only incorporation forms in V2 system, whereas we have enhanced this functionality of linked filings in much more forms like conversion forms and including annual filing forms. So for example, in V2 system, only whenever you're filing Spice Plus Part B and you're incorporating any Part 1 company, so we used to ask, system used to ask you to file URC1 or EMOA, EAO like that. The same is continued in V3 also, but apart from incorporation forms, we are asking the users to file linked forms of EMOA, EAO at multiple places, especially the conversion forms, alteration of authorized capital, that is SH7 form. So there are so many forms wherein linked filings are getting, getting captured in the form of a digitized information, and then the data can be stored and we can do a data analytics and reporting and all on the data, because everything is coming in the form of a structured information as against attachments in V2 system. Then auto pre-filling of common fields across the forms, ensuring data consistency and effort reduction. So this is also one of the common enhancements that you would see, including this functionality is much more enhanced in annual filing forms. So especially with respect to the previous year numbers in AOC4 forms, whenever you're filing AOC4 form, in balance sheet section and P&L section and subschedules, your information is required to be given in the form of current reporting period and previous reporting period, right? In V2 system, both the columns have to be entered manually for each of the mandatory field. But in V3 system, so going forward, what actually happens or happening currently is basically if you are already done your previous year filing, immediately previous year filing, and that form is under approved status. So basis the financial year that you're entering in the current form, so system will go and check your previous year SRN, and it will pick the entire data of the previous year current data, and it will come and refill in your current AOC4 form against your previous year numbers. So basically, you're not required to punch in the previous year numbers while filing your AOC4 forms in V3 system. So all your previous year data will come and get pre-filled. And however, if you want to change these numbers because of reinstatement or regrouping or whatever, so you can change those numbers, but initially system will automatically pre-fill your numbers. This is one of the major enhancements that you get to see in V3 AOC4 forms. And form fields optimization by removal of duplicate or redundant fields. This is again a common functionality which we have done. Each form has undergone a detailed analysis by a forms committee, MCA policy and all. Many fields got removed or few attachments got converted into digitized fields. So that is about point number 5, minimization of attachments by introducing fields or declaration of the form digital attachments. So basically, wherever possible, we have removed the attachments and we have converted those attachments related information in the form of fields only within the form, so that we can use that information for further reporting or analytics. Next is addition of field level validation, thereby minimizing errors at the time of filing. So to the extent possible, we are showing the errors at the field level only, rather than asking the user to fill in the entire form, click on submit. And then the maximum size of the attachment. So in V2 system, it was 6 MB overall file size limit that we had, and that got increased to 10 MB in V3 system. And also each attachment also we have restricted to 2 MB, but however, there are some exceptions in AOC4 forms and MGT7 forms because of the large attachments like your financial statements or XML document, the exceptions were given. So all this information on the enhancements, what all enhancements that are there for each form wise, that presentation is already available on MCA portal under FAQs and training documents. You can go through that PPT or that document for each form wise enhancements that we have made in V3 system. So now coming back to, as we mentioned today, in today's session, we are going to discuss about offline utility of AOC4 form. So what is the benefit and what is the concept of this offline utility and how it is different from online forms? So as we've mentioned in V3 system, all the forms are web-based forms wherein you have to log in with your business user ID and you have to search for the form that is required to be filed. And once you select that relevant form, the form is bifurcated into different sections and you have to fill in the form online. This is a concept of web-based online form, right? Now, Why we have introduced this offline functionality for AOC4 form? What is the need? So as we all know, AOC4 form is required to be filed within sorry, within 30 days of your AGM. And almost 90% of our companies in our system are small companies, which means most of these companies, a due date will fall within the same period, like in the month of October mostly. So and if you have to suppose, let us say there is one practicing professional who has 3-4 team members within that audit firm or company secretary firm, for example, and if they have to file multiple forms, or because they will deal with number of companies, right? And suppose, let us say there are 100 companies which they have to file, and as now in V3 system everything is web based and you have to log in with business user ID, and at max if you have 3 team members, only 3 forms can be filed or filled at one go. 3 people can work on only one form. So this actually, with respect to the because an AOC4 forms or MGT7 form has a clear deadline, and most of the small companies will have same kind of a deadline. So it may be difficult for the professionals or the users who are going to file the form by using this online AOC4 form, because at a time you can only work on one form. And you cannot delegate this to anybody else who do not have business user, because you need to have a business user if you want to fill a form. So these are all key constraints or the few pointers wherein this concept of offline AOC4 form came into the system. So now what is this offline utility? So first thing is less dependency on internet. As we said, if you want to fill an online AOC4 form, you have to connect it to your internet and you have to log into MCA portal, and also you have to log in with business user. Then only you will be able to work on this. And without internet, you will not be able to fill anything. So now in offline utility, what happens is we will only ask you to fill in the basic information on that screen, web layout screen, and everything else you can do it offline without connecting to internet, without logging into MCA system. So this will ensure a smooth filing and uninterruption of your work. So basically, and also you can work on parallel Excels also. So you just have to fill in the basic details of each company. Suppose if you have to fill 10 forms, you can just fill all basic information of web fields. If for all those 10 companies, you can generate 10 Excels and you can work without connecting to internet at your ease. And as I mentioned, the second point, multiple company filings can be prepared simultaneously after downloading the Excel utility. So you will, once you fill in the basic information of that company, so Excels will get generated for all your parent and linked filings with all the pre-filled information, including your previous year numbers. So you can work on multiple company filings simultaneously, wherein this option is not available in online AOC4 form. And convenient for handling of large data, as Excel-based offline form is easier to manage. So again, so basically, especially with respect to wherever you have large number of data, and because you have to punch in so much of data in AOC4 form, because it is for financial statements, you have to report multiple numbers of your balance sheet, schedules, profit and loss account and schedules, and there are n number of financial parameters that we are asking. So basically, it is easier for you to handle the data, because there is an option to suppose if any field is not applicable for you, you can enter 0 and you can copy paste that 0. But wherein in online form, even suppose if you want to enter 0 in 10 fields, you have to enter 0 one by one 10 times. Whereas in offline utility, if it is an Excel based utility, you can copy paste that. So which will save a lot of time for the users, and then secure review process. And also you can share the Excel file for review without sharing login credentials. So right now what happens is, if you want to view your web form before submitting, there is no way except you share your credentials and asking that person to log in and go to application history and edit the form and to view the document. Now, in case of offline process, you can simply fill in your Excels and you can share it with your whoever is going to review the document, you can share it with that person, and so that they can review the documents also offline. So these are all the basic key advantages why the users can use offline AOC4 form when compared with AOC4 online. So how do I navigate? So basically now we are saying AOC4, if I have to file, how do I navigate to file that form? So is it different from AOC4 online, or if yes, where can I see that? So we'll start with showing a few screens, and then we will talk about the web layout, and then we'll go with demo. So before going into this Before going into the filing process, so let us talk about the concept of linked filing. So basically, this was explained in earlier webinars also, but we just for a quick recap. And this linked filing concept is applicable for both online and offline. Whether you are filing your form online or offline, linked filings will, the concept of linked filing applicability is same. So you can see here, we can see around 7 linked forms which are listed down here. So first question is whether all these linked filings are applicable to all companies. Answer is no. So there are 2 linked forms which will come mandatorily for all the cases, irrespective of the year that you are filing, irrespective of the type of company you have, class of company, whatever may be the turnover. So there are 2 linked forms which are mandatory for all the cases. That is last the extract of director's report, which you can see line item number 5, and extract of auditor's report, standalone. These 2 will come into system. These are mandatory linked filings for all the companies, which means in V3, whenever you are filing AOC 4 or AOC for NBFC, at least these 2 linked filings will come into the system. And please note that when it comes to AOC for XBRL, offline functionality or offline utility is not available because entire information is going to get captured in the form of XML, and only CSR2 will come as a linked filing to AOC for XBRL. So for this discussion, to put it in a simple words, offline functionality is not available for AOC for XBRL forms. This is only available for AOC 4 and AOC for NBFC companies. Okay, so now coming back to the first line item, AOC 1, which is basically a statement containing the details of subsidiaries, joint ventures, and associate companies. So when this linked filing will come into the system, or when this linked filing is applicable for a company which is filing AOC 4 form, is basically there is a field called field number 8 in the AOC 4 parent form. So wherein you have to mention there's a field called whether the company has a subsidiary company as defined under clause 87 of section 2, or has an associate company, or has a joint venture as defined under clause 6 of section 2. There is one field called field number 8, 8B. So wherein you have to go and say yes. Whenever you have subsidiary company or joint venture or associate company and you want to report such transactions, you have to go and mention yes against that radio button. Only then system will enable AOC 1 as a linked filing. Please note that once this linked filing is enabled, it is mandatory for that company to go and file this form as a linked filing. Unless you go back and change this radio button to no, system will not allow you to file the form without this linked filing. Once it is enabled, it is mandatory. And then AOC 2, it is for taking the transactions of related parties. Again, here also in a parent form of AOC 4 or AOC 4 NBFC, we have one field called whether company has any transactions entered with related party. Only when you say yes against that field, then only AOC 2 will get enabled. And next is AOC for CFS. This is for consolidated financial statements. So in V2 system, it used to happen as an independent filing. Suppose, let us say there is one company which wants to report their consolidated financial statements in V2. The process which was followed in V2 was basically first you have to go and file AOC 4 form and you have to get that form approved. And then you have to download AOC for CFS and you have to refer that AOC for SRN of the parent form. And then only you can proceed. Both are basically independent processes. And also AOC for CFS is dependent on your AOC 4 form. And you will not be able to file AOC for CFS directly without filing AOC 4. So now in V3 system going forward, so AOC for CFS, this independent filing of AOC for CFS concept is removed. Unless you have already done your parent form in V2 and you want to do only independent filing in V3, that is allowed. But however, if you are filing your parent form, that is AOC 4 or AOC 4 NBFC in V3 system, and you have selected consolidation as applicability as yes in the parent form, then system will ask you to file AOC for CFS also as a linked filing in V3. There is no need to wait for your approval of parent form, then go for AOC for CFS. It will automatically generate the linked filing of AOC for CFS whenever you say that consolidation is applicable to that parent company. So this is about AOC for CFS. Then CSR2. Again, in CSR2 in V2 system is basically a independent filing only. So after filing of your AOC 4 and NBFC or AOC for XBRL, you have to come and file CSR2 by referring that SRN of those AOC4 or AOC4 NBFC or AOC4 XBRL. So in V3 system, for CSR2, if you are filing the form for the financial year 24-25 onwards, CSR2 will also come as a linked filing for all the three forms, whether it is AOC for NBFC, AOC4 or AOC4 XBRL. If you are filing the form for the financial year 24-25 onwards, so CSR2 will also come as a linked filing. For the prior years, CSR2 you can go and file as an independent filing. And e-directors report, e-auditor standalone, we have mentioned, these two are mandatory linked filing for all the filings of AOC4 or AOC4 NBFC. The last one is extract of auditors report consolidated. So this will come into the system whenever AOC4 CFS is coming as a linked filing. Then you have to go and file extract of auditors report consolidated also as a linked filing. So at max, the company can file the form with 7 linked filings, wherein 2 are mandatory for all the cases, and remaining 5 will dependent on the applicabilities that you're selecting in your parent form. This is about the linked filing logic. An important point to highlight is you will not be able to access these linked filings directly on the MCA portal because these are linked to your parent form. Only AOC4, AOC4 NBFC, those parent forms only you can access from the navigation tab which is there on MCA portal. Once you fill in your parent form, the subsequent forms, whatever the linked filings that are applicable, those linked filings will be enabled one by one if you are filing online. If it is offline form, all the linked filings will get generated in a single folder with the different Excels, which we will be showing now in subsequent slides. So now coming back to the filing process, what are all the key points that we need to know before beginning the offline utility? Will there be any pointers that we need to know, or what are all the key points that we need to keep it in our mind before going ahead? The first point is, as we've mentioned, offline is a new functionality, which may be completely the way you fill in online form is different from offline form, right? So first thing that you need to know is, first 1 or 2 forms, it may take little time because you need to know what is the flow of events. And also whenever you are filling the form, please make sure to open your instruction kit alongside, so that because we've written each and every line, what all points that you need to know, or which all fields are mandatory or conditional mandatory. When it comes to mandatory, do I require to enter 0 or not? Each and every field, line item is discussed and explained in detailed manner in instruction kit. First thing that we need to do is you please open the instruction kit of offline utility, and then you start filling the web layout screen. So these are all the different steps that are involved basically. Fill up the web parent form with basic information. As we have mentioned, in case of offline utility, your AOC4 form is bifurcated into 2 parts. The fields which are required to be captured as part of web layout, and fields which are required to be filled in Excel format. So as a first step, once you access your offline web form, only we will be asking you to enter the key fields, which we will be explaining in detail. You have to fill in those key fields for both parent and linked filings, and then you have to click on Save and Submit button. Once you submit this form, parent form, whatever the selections that you have done, suppose while filing the form, you've selected consolidation is applicable for you, or you have related parties, or you have subsidiaries or joint ventures, depending on that selection, once you submit the web layout of this offline utility, system will generate a separate panel for all the applicable linked filings. Suppose, let us say, if I don't select anything, like I don't have subsidiaries, I don't have related parties, CSR is not applicable, CF consolidation is not applicable, then at least 2 linked filings will get generated in 2 different panels, that is extract of board report and extract of auditors report standalone. And then once this enable, then you have to fill in that basic information of those linked filings also. So when we say basic information, we will show how many number of fields that are required to be filled in. So and what is the base for those fields also, we will explain why these fields are required to be filled upfront and why not in Excel. Okay, so like this, you have to fill in the basic information of your parent form and submit. Then all the linked filings information, basic information, that is whatever is applicable, AOC1, 2, AOC4 CFS, CSR2, extract of auditors report and extract of board report, etc. Then you have to click on Proceed button to submit parent and linked filing with basic information. Please note that we are still at web screen layout wherein we are filling the basic information of parent and linked filing. Once you fill in that information, then you will click on submit. Then what actually happens is system will take all your information which you have filled in your parent form and also the linked filings. System will generate one zip folder which contains your different Excels for parent form separately, for each linked form separately. So you can see here, once you click on proceed button, Excel gets generated and downloaded. Excel option would be displayed to the user. So the system will display a message saying that Excel generation is in progress. And once it is downloaded, it will show that Excel is downloaded. You can, you can download it on your system. So as I mentioned, one zip file will be downloaded containing all Excels with parent and linked form separately. One complete blank Excel set of parent and applicable linked filing. So when we say Excel gets generated, please note that this Excel would contain whatever the basic information that you filled in as part of your web screen, whether it is for parent or linked, and also whatever the previous year numbers, so as I explained, the previous year numbers are getting pre-filled from your previous year filings, right? So the previous year numbers also would get auto-populated even in offline form also. So only those fields will get pre-filled. In the downloaded Excels, web form fields which are pre-filled will be non-editable. Please note that, suppose let us say in the basic Excel, basic web layout, you have filled in some 20 fields. All those 20 fields would be displayed in your offline form also, that Excel also, but you will not be able to edit any of those fields. And fill the relevant Excels in offline mode. Then the next process is, once the zip folder is downloaded on your system, so you can fill in these Excels in offline mode without connecting to internet, without connecting to MCA, without logging into the system. You can fill all your details in an offline mode. And once all your Excels are filled in, you have to upload one by one Excel. You have to log in back to the system, and your which is wherein your current application is under draft pending status. You have to go and upload each of these Excels one by one. And once it is uploaded successfully, then you have to attach all the attachments that are required to be attached for your parent form and linked filing. And then final submission would happen. So please note that all the field level validations would happen because you are filling the data in offline mode, right? So if you have missed any entering any mandatory field, or you've missed, if field is mandatory but you've left it as blank, all those such validations would happen only when you upload your Excel. So which means all your field level validations would happen on the moment you upload the Excel, and if there are any errors, all those errors will be displayed in a basically separate list. So one notepad file will get opened, and all your errors will be displayed along with the serial number and the error message, so that you can go back and correct the Excel for that particular field. And once you go and update these fields, wherever the fields are not actually correct as per the validation. Suppose, for example, you have not entered a mandatory field of financial parameter, or you've entered wherein, you're supposed to enter a DIN number, but you've entered a PAN number, for example, or the membership number, whatever you entered is not valid. So such basic field level validations also would happen only upon Excel upload. And we will be throwing one error file so that you can go through those errors and you can go back and correct it. So this is the sequence. And once you submit the form, then the next process is same, that you have to go and download your PDF, and then you have to affix your DSC and upload all the forms along with linked filings. That process is same for both online and offline. So coming back to the navigation of these forms, how do I access offline form? So you have to go to MCA services, company e-filing, and then you have to click on annual filing. You can see here, you will get to, you can see two line items for AOC4. One is AOC for financial statement and other documents, and AOC for financial statement and other document -offline. So if you want to choose offline filing, you have to choose the second option. So this first one is for online, this is for offline. So please make sure to enable the pop-up in your browser before accessing the form. So this is what we have written here. And please note that this entire document is already uploaded on MCA portal under training section, FAQs and training sections. You can access this document also, which is in the form of PDF, in case if you want to go through again. So as I mentioned, you have to enable the pop-ups before initiating the form filling. So now we will quickly show you. We were talking about the web form fields, right? So what all fields that we need to fill in the web screen only, not in Excel, and what is the relevance of those fields. Okay, so we will just quickly show you that layout. So yeah. So whenever you click on AOC for offline, so system will open your AOC4 form in the same manner. This title, emblem, everything would remain same. And you can see here, we will be asking to enter your basic information, that is SIN number. The moment you enter the SIN number, your authorized capital or number of members, name, everything gets pre-filled. And you have to give your financial year start date and end date, and AGM details and signatories of board report, and you can see auditor's report and board report ka signatories you have to give, and then AGM details, and here subsidiary details. If you can see, we were talking about this field, whether company has a subsidiary company as defined under clause 87. So when you say S here, then system will read this radio button and it will enable AOC1. So depending on these fields that you are filling in a parent form, your linked filings will get generated. So then the auditor details, here auditor details, you have to enter the SRN and everything else gets pre-filled automatically. So based on the SRN, your information will get auto-populated. And then type of industry and then applicability of Schedule 3, very important. Only when you say that Schedule 3 is applicable to that company, only then that balance sheet section and schedules to the balance sheet and profit and loss account and schedules to the profit and loss account will get enabled. Otherwise, it will not enable in the system. Then the next is also very important, whether consolidated financial statements is required or not. Only if you say yes, AOC for CFS will get enabled, else it will not enable as a linked filing. Then it is about the maintenance of books of accounts. So this is again the data that you need to provide in the parent form, web screen only. And then next is for related party transactions. You can see only when you say yes, system will enable AOC2, else AOC2 will not be enabled as a linked filing. And then auditor details. This is for cost audit details. So you have to provide, mostly these are radio buttons. And then CSR applicability. Again, only when you say that CSR is applicable under section 135 or you want to report unspent CSR amount, only then system will enable CSR2. And then secretarial auditor details also we will be enabling. So we will ask whether secretarial audit is applicable or not. Then yes, how many number of observations that are there. So depending on this number that you have entered, those many number of line items will be enabled in the Excel for you to enter the observations. This is about the parent form panel. So as you can see, we are asking you to enter the basic information of the company and the financial year for which you are filing the form. Who are all the signatories to your board report and auditor's report and AGM details, and your applicability of Schedule 3 and applicability of all linked filing related information is what we are asking you to enter, and some information on books, maintenance of books of account, auditor details, wherein auditor details it will get pre-filled automatically based on your SRN, and then some cost audit related information, which is mostly of a radio buttons. So once you submit this form, this is basically a parent web screen fields. Once you submit, depending on the selection of the linked filings that you have selected, your respective, all the linked filings related web basic information sections will be enabled in a accordion or panel basis, which we'll be showing you. But so this is just a layout that I want you to see once before going into the actual screens. So suppose, for example, you have selected that consolidation is applicability as yes here. So then we will be asking you to enter some basic information. Please note that in a linked filing basic information, we are capturing only to enable the number of line items or number of rows in the Excel so that you can go and fill in only that information. So whatever is required for the system to generate your linked filing of that AOC4, only those fields will be asked in the web screen, else everything else is part of your Excel only. So this is about, this is basically similar to AOC4 form only. And now AOC1, if you see, this is what for subsidiaries, joint ventures, and associate companies. So you can see here, this is only a single page wherein we are only asking how many number of subsidiaries you have, how many number of subsidiaries which are yet to commence operations, or how many have been liquidated or sold during there, or how many joint ventures or associate companies you have. Only the numbers are actually required to be captured here. And once you submit this, and each of this section will have separate tables. Those many number of line items or those many number of tables will get enabled depending on this number. That will happen in the Excel. Because for system to generate your Excel, this is a minimum requirement for the system to generate your Excel. Hence, we are asking only such basic information which requires to enable your linked filing in a predefined format. So then is AOC2. Again, here also, it is only a single page screen wherein we will be asking you to give the number of contracts or arrangements or transactions, not at arm's length basis or at arm's length basis. Depending on this number that you are entering, we will be enabling your linked filings. And next is CSR2. So CSR2 has multiple tables. So for example, we have 7B is basically ongoing projects other than ongoing projects wherever we have, and we have 10B, 10C. So all those sections, field number 11 and 12. So these, wherever we are asking the user to enter number of CSR projects, whether it is ongoing or other than ongoing, previous year projects carried to current year, or you want to create projects for the unspent amount of previous years, all those number related information is what we are asking in the web layout. And depending on the number that you are entering, then we will be enabling those Excels or those many number of rows in the Excel sheet. And then extract of auditor's report standalone. Here also it is a simple screen which asks you to enter number of observations or reservations or adverse remarks or disclaimers. And then whether CARO is applicable to the company, yes or no. If it is not applicable, the CARO section will be disabled for such company. So next is extract of auditors reports consolidated. It's similar to this, and except one additional line item where we will be asking about the CARO applicability or disqualification of your subsidiary companies. So which is as per CARO 2020 order. And then extract of board report. Here also we will be asking only the basic information to fill in on the web screen. And basis the number entered, then we will be populating those many rows. These are all the extract of board report fields. Mostly these are one page screens, except AOC4 CFS, because CFS is similar to your AOC4 form. So once you fill in all this information of your linked filings, and finally once you click on submit, then you get this message called Excel generation is in progress. Please wait. And once Excel gets generated, you get this message, Excel generation completed. Click on download. So once you download, one zip folder will get generated which contains your parent form and minimum two linked filings. That is minimum 2 Excels, one for extract of board report, extract of auditor's report standalone, and the remaining linked filings based on your applicability that you are selected in the form. Everything will get downloaded in the form of a zip file, and all these Excels will be having a SIN number, so that you can identify if you are working on multiple Excels, at least you should know what is the company for which you are filling the form. So that file name would contain your SIN number followed by your form ID also. So it is to identify easily that which company data you are filling in. So once you download this Excel, you have to fill in the entire Excel. I will show you the Excel part also. After that, let us assume that you filled in all the Excels and you're done with the Excel filling. Now you want to upload the Excels. Then you have to come back and log into the screen again. And then you have to go to application, you have to click on edit form, and then the screen will appear and you have to come and upload each of your Excels here. One by one you have to upload. Once you upload AOC for Excel, if there are any errors, those errors will be displayed in a separate file. You have to download that file and you have to go through the errors and go back and correct those errors in the Excel. And then you can come and upload other Excel. This is the process that you have to follow. One by one, you have to upload each Excel and validation happens. And then your system will allow you to proceed with next Excel. And after this, once you click on proceed, then the attachments. So except attachments, everything else is part of your Excel. So suppose if I divide web form into 3 parts, all basic information you will be filling as part of initial web screen, and then everything else will come in the form of Excel except attachments. Attachments will come at the end after you successfully upload your Excels. And again, attachments also will have separate panels because each form has different attachments. Few are conditional, mandatory, or optional, or whatever is the applicability. Accordingly, those attachments will be displayed here, and you have to attach these attachments and then the final submission. However, in case of CSR, 2 is applicable. You have to click on generate project ID. There is a concept called project ID generation for ongoing projects. Otherwise, you can directly click on submit button, and then SRN gets generated after validating your business rules or server-side validations. So this is the process for offline utility. So now let me go back to the PPT. So Ankit, now my colleague Ankit will now take you through the actual screens, how actual screen looks and what all details that we are capturing. It is basically a quick recap of web screen layouts and then the Excel. So I'll quickly show you the Excel also for one of the parent form so that you can then Ankit will take over. So once you suppose this is the parent form of AOC 4 Excel, this is how your Excel gets generated in a zipped folder. So as you can see, it is the layout, whatever we have seen in the web screen layout. So basically you can see here the form ID, everything is coming. Please note that all the details that you filled on your web screen will automatically get populated here, and none of these fields are editable. If you want to make any change for any of these fields, you have to go to the online form and you have to click on edit, and then only you'll be able to edit these fields, because based on this permutations and combination system has already run the logic and generated all the linked filings and all. Right now, if I allow you to change the fields here, then it will again, there may be a mismatch with respect to the linked filing forms that we have generated or the number of rows that we have generated. Hence, we are not allowing you to change the web screen fields which you have filled in as part of your online screen. Those fields are not allowed to be editable, but however, you can see what you have filled in. So that is how you can see here all the details of signatories are there, AGM details, everything you can see, but you will not be able to edit. And then starting from this part 1, that is the balance sheet section, all these details will come in like this. So this is basically a filled form. So if you download as a first time, I mean, whenever you are downloading this Excel for the first time, so all your previous year numbers will get pre-populated automatically, provided the company has already done its previous year filing and their form is under approved status. Then all your previous year numbers also will get pre-populated. However, you can edit the numbers if you want to edit. And whenever you are editing the fields, if you want to provide the reason for such change, you can provide. However, providing reason is not mandatory. If you want to leave the field blank, you can leave it. But all the pre-filled numbers are editable. So like this, you have to fill in the data for each of the section. It is similar to whatever the notified form that you can see on MCA portal. So, and here there you can see financial parameters. So as this, I was talking about this field only. For most of the companies, most of these parameters may not be mandatory. There are around 47 line items, right? So suppose what you can simply do is, if few parameters are not applicable, you can simply just take this 0 and you can just copy paste it here. Whereas in online form, you have to enter 0 field by field. So this copy paste functionality will help you to reduce the time, especially the fields which are mandatory in nature and you cannot leave those fields blank. So these are all such line items wherein financial parameters, all these financial parameters are mandatory fields, which means even it is not applicable to you, system is expecting you to enter at least 0. So such fields, you can use this copy paste functionality and you can copy paste the values, whatever the values that are not applicable to the respective company. So like this, you have to fill in the entire form. This is for profit and loss account. And then we have certain parameters, financial parameters for P&L also. And then we have product details, then followed by all the CSR information you can see. Applicabilities that you have given in the fields, that whether related party transactions are applicable, consolidation is applicable or not, CSR applicable. Then final, the declaration part. You have to give all the declaration details also here, including your signatory details and the practicing professional if it is applicable. Then once you fill in entire information, you click on save button and then go back to your screen and upload this Excel to see whether everything is fine or not. But however, as I mentioned before, especially while filling this Excel sheet, please make sure to open your help kit or the PPT that we are displaying currently, which shows you, which tells you which all fields are mandatory you have to fill in. So if suppose, for example, balance sheet, if I take this entire balance sheet is mandatory whenever you say that Schedule 3 is applicability you've selected as yes here. Suppose, for example, wherever Schedule 3's applicability is yes, then system will enable this entire section of balance sheet, and all the current year reporting period numbers are mandatory. Previous year numbers, there are certain validations, but for previous current year numbers, all this entire table is mandatory for all the numbers, even though company is not having long-term borrowings or short-term borrowings, for example, or there are no current assets, or so whatever is the field which is not applicable, then also you are expected to enter zero at least. Suppose if you leave this share application money pending allotment as blank here, you will not get to see any error on this Excel. But when you upload the Excel, you will get an error saying that the mandatory field of share application money pending allotment is missing. So how do you know which field is mandatory? For that purpose, it is advisable and it is requested to open the help kit and go through the help kit once or twice, because this confusion may be there initially. Once you fill in 1 or 2 Excels, you will understand which all fields are mandatory or not. At least for 1 or 2 forms, please open the help kit of offline and then read the instructions and then fill the form so that you can avoid errors at the time of Excel upload. So this is about the functionality of offline utility on an overall basis. And now we will actually show you the screenshots of how actual web layout and Excel looks. So Ankit, can you please take over?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah.
Okay, share your screen and then you can take over.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, screen is visible.
Yeah. First, you have to enter the SIN number of the company. Based on the SIN number, remaining details, basic details will be pre-filled. And if you are not aware, know the SIN number, you can search the SIN number by entering the name of the company. And in field 3, you have to enter the financial years for which you are filing. And this form, you can enter the detail after the 1st April 2024. Before that, you have to file in the 9056 forms.
Ankit, please be little louder so that audience can hear us. And just to highlight, this is the screen of offline web screen. Whenever you navigate to AOC for offline, this is how your screen opens. Okay, Ankit, go ahead.
Okay. In the next section, date of board meeting in which financial statements are approved will appear. Then your nature of financial statement. You have to select from the drop down menu whether it is adopted or provisional financial statements, or there is a revision. If you have selected the revision, then for section 4B2 will be appear. What is the purpose of revision, whether a financial statement or board report or both. Then 4B3, you have to select whether provisional statement is filed earlier. You have to select yes, no, and not applicable. If not applicable can be selected only in case of the one-person company. Similar, whether urgent adopted in urgent AGM. Here, also not applicable can be selected in case the OPC. For the rest of the cases, you have to select yes or no. In the next section, you have to give the detail of the signatory who have signed the financial statements. In this section, now in V3, we have added the interim resolution professional, or liquidity detail can also be provided. And when you enter the DIN number or PAN number, the name is pre-filled based on the database, and you have to give the designation and the date of the signing. And it is noted that earlier there was user is facing issue while they are entering due to the multiple tab. Now we disable the multiple tab. Now you cannot use the multiple tab at the same time. If you want to access the information, the number, you have to use separate browser. You cannot open the multiple tab in the same browser. Same. Now you have to give the date of board of directors in which board report refers under section 131 for was approved. Then similar, you have to give the details of the directors who have signed the director reports and give the designation and the date. Then next will be that date of signing of report of financial statement by the auditor. This date should be greater than or equal to the date of signing of financial statement by the or by the board. Next will be whether annual general meeting is held. If it is held, you have to select the yes and give the detail of the AGM and due date of AGM. If extension is granted, you have to select the field 7D, whether any extension of AGM is granted, yes, yes. And then you have to enter the SRN of GNL1. Based on the SRN of GNL1, extended due date of the AGM will be pre-filled. In our scenario, we have selected no, so it is this field are not visible. If you have selected yes, then the remaining two field will be visible to the you. Then next field will be come in the web form is field 8A, whether the company is a subsidiary company as defined under section close to 87 of section 2. If you select yes, then it is mandatory to provide the scene of the holding company. And in field 80, if you select yes, whether the company has a subsidiary company as defined under clause 87 of section 2 or associate or joint venture company, then the link form AOC1 will be appear in the panel. Otherwise, if you select no, then it will not applicable to you. Then you have to give the details of the auditor. You have to enter the SRN. Based on the SRN, remaining fields related to the auditor will be pre-filled, except the field 9F, name of the members and membership number. It is also pre-filled, but it is editable, and the rest of the field will be non-editable. But in case of you have a filing for the first financial years, and the auditor is appointment is not filed, you can enter Z followed by 8 times 9s and enter the details of the auditor manually. In other case, if you are filing for the company which is under liquidation and CIP, you have filed GNL1, then for the appointment of auditor, you can enter the detail of the GNL1 and rest of the details you can file, you enter manually. For normal cases, this field is pre-filled and non-editable, except the last two one, name of the member and membership numbers. And if you forget the SRN of the edited one, you can assess the SRN at the MCA services tab under check annual filing status. Here you can assess it's the SRN edited one, UC4 and MGT7, all annual filings forms.
Just to add one point here, so Ankit, go back to the previous screen. So regarding the GNL1, so GNL1 SRN will be allowed to be entered only if the SRN is filed during certain period, because when we went live with Companies Act 2014, initially 81 form was not launched as part of initial launch. It was launched after a few months, maybe in the month of October 2014. So till that point in time, MCA has asked the users to fill in the 81 appointment details in the form of an attachment through GNL1. So in those cases, so if you are filing for late filing, that financial years where you have not filed your 81, wherein you had GNL1 SRN, only in those cases you can enter the GNL1. However, system would check whether the GNL1 SRN is pertaining to that period or not. Only then system will allow. Otherwise, you have to enter 81 SRN. For first auditors, also we have facility to file ADT1 for first auditor's appointment, even though it is not mandated by the law. If you have it, you can give. Otherwise, you can proceed with Z9 NSRN in this field. Yeah, Ankit, go ahead.
In field 10A, you have to select the type of industries. whether it is commercial or industries, banking, power sector, insurance, or NBFC. In field 10B, you have to select the whether Schedule 3 is applicable. If you select yes, then the remaining section of balance sheet and profit and loss will be appear. Other, if you select no, then this section will not appear in the next in the Excel. In the next field, you have to select whether consolidated financial statement is required or not. If you select yes, then the link form UC for CFS will be appear. And if you select no, then it will not appear. And it is mandatory if you have CFS is applicable, you have to file as a link form only. You cannot file it a separate form in V3. Only if the in the AOC4 is filed in a V2. In the next section, with disclosure about the related party transaction, you have to give the yes or no whether any transaction entered in the related party is entered. If you select yes, then the link form AOC2 will be appear uh, in the link form. And in auditor reports, you have to select in case of the government companies whether CAG has commented any supplemented audit, yes, no, or not applicable. Then in the next section, segment 5, CSR applicability present to, there is you have to select from the drop down menu. Option will be appear. Section 135, report on unspent CSR amount not applicable. If you select section 135 or report on unspent amount, then the only CSR2 will be appear as a link form. Further, CSR2 will appear as a link form from the financial year 24-25. If you are filing AOC4 for any previous year, then you have to file the CSR2 as a separate form, and it will be appear as a linked filing only if the state you are filing AOC4 the purpose is selected adopted. If you have selected provision unadopted financial statement, then CSR2 will not be appear as a link form.
So the reason why we are not enabling for if whenever you're filing AOC4 for provisional and adopted financial statements, because whenever you have provisional and unadopted financial statements, you will be filing one more form for adopted. And we have this concept of project ID generation for each financial year. So to avoid multiple project ID generation or duplicate project ID generation, so it was decided by MCA that we will be enabling CSR2 linked filing only whenever you're filing AOC4 for adopted financial statement purpose, and there is a revision which is hardly used purpose. But please note that CSR2 will not be enabled as a linked filing if your nature of filing is basically a provisional unadopted financial statements. Yeah, Ankit.
Yeah. In the last section, it will whether the secretarial auditor is applicable. You have to select yes or no. If you select yes, then you have to provide whether the audit report has been qualified or any observation or any remarks. If you select yes, then you have to give the number of observation made. Based of the number of observation, Excel will be in Excel file, row will be generated, and you have to give the details of the observation. And at last, you have to click on the submit. If you click the submit, then the next linked form will be appear. In our scenario, we have taken the minimum linked applicable link forms, that is uh, extract of auditor reports and extract of director reports. The next link form will be appear extract of auditor report.
One second, Ankit. So can you please go back to the previous screen? So till here, we were filling all the basic information in your parent form, and you have to click on the submit button. Once you submit, whatever the linked filings that are applicable to that particular company, based on the parameters that you have selected, all your linked filings will get opened in a panel or accordion manner, and then you have to go to click on each panel which contains the basic information of each linked filing. Then you have to fill that information, then submit, and then go to the next panel. Yeah, Ankit.
Yeah. The next link form in our scenario is extract of auditor report, which will come in with AOC4 or AOC4 NBFC. In this, you have to first give the number of qualification, reservation, and adverse remarks or disclaimer what are the total numbers? Based on the numbers, Excel will be generated rows will be generated, and maximum 20 rows will be generated in the Excel. If you have details, more than 20 observations, you can provide details of this in the separate in the attachment. And next section, whether the company's auditor report CARO is applicable to the company. You have to select yes and no.
Ankit, you're not audible.
Hello, Ankit? Ankit, can you hear us?
I think you got disconnected.
1 second, ma'am, checking.
And that company is small company, please select yes, otherwise select no. Then you have to give the detail of board meeting and committee meeting. If you have filed MGT7 earlier, be, before AOC4, then this detail will be auto refilled from the MGT7. And based on the number of meeting you have written, rows will be generated in the Excel. In case you are filing for the OPC companies, then you can in board meeting section you can enter the zero if your director is one as on the end of the financial year. Otherwise, it is mandatory to give the detail of board meeting as more than zero. In next section, detail of the loan or grantee investment security given by the company, you have to select yes or no, and or are there any reportable transactions on which section 186 apply? You have to select a new. If you select the yes in field 9A, then have to give the details of this loan and grantee in the Excel. Once you click on the submit, then Excel generation will be completed. You have to click on the download button, and when you click on the download button, a zip file will be downloaded, which will contain all the linked parent form and linked form Excels.
So just to highlight here, as he has explained, so we have used this example with minimum mandatory linked filings, that is extract of board report and extract of auditor's report. Because all other radio buttons we have selected as applicability as no. Hence, we got only two panels, for one for extract of board report and other for extract of auditor's report standalone. So once you submit that, then this Excel generation progress will come. Yeah, Ankit.
So as in our case, we have selected minimum applicable link file. So AUC4 auditor report and extract of board report will appear in the zip file. And first you have to fill this Excel and upload one by one. So first we have to do, I'm showing how to fill the, when you open the Excel, first you will indirect to readme section. Please go through this section before filing through details. If you have to do one or two times, later on you will aware what are the requirements. The basic information we have filled in the web form is pre-filled and not these are not editable in the Excel, and these fields appear in the gray tab. Next, in balance sheet, current year field, if we be selected whether schedule 3 is applicable, then it is mandatory to fill the balance sheet, and current year figure is mandatory in every case. Previous year fields are mandatory when we enter the date in the previous year. and this previous year field will be pre-filled based on the latest AOC filed for the last years, except for the trade payable and the receivable.
So just to add key important points here. So first of all, this balance sheet section, as we've mentioned, only when you say that Schedule 3 is applicable to the company, then only it will be enabled. Once this is enabled, current year numbers are mandatory for all the fields. So which means if the field is not applicable to you, you are expected to enter at least 0 in each of such field. And when it comes to previous year data, so first thing is if you've already done your previous year filing information, the previous data would come pre-populated all automatically. Suppose you are filing for the first time wherein you had previous year numbers, but you have not filed your previous year form, or you're not filing the forms in a sequential manner, then what you can do is you can enter the previous year numbers manually, but however, the previous numbers also will be enabled and mandatory only when you enter the previous reporting period in the first table, that whatever is the reporting period is that you can see, right? The previous reporting period, only when you enter that date, only then you will be able to enter the previous year numbers. So which means, to put it in a simple terms, once this balance sheet is enabled, current year numbers are mandatory for all the line items, which means even at least 0 is expected to be entered there. If any field is not mandatory for any company, not available for any company, you please enter the 0. And for the previous year numbers, if these values are getting pre-filled, then you can go ahead. And if you want to change the pre-filled values, you can go ahead and change it. Or the previous year numbers itself is not pre-filled, then you please first enter the previous year reporting period, and then you go ahead with all the previous year numbers manual entry. And just to highlight 2 points here with respect to 1 point here with respect to balance sheet, which all line items which you may not be able to see the pre-fill data of previous year numbers. One is the trade payables in balance sheet, and other income in P&L accounts. Because in trade payables, basically in V2 system, we have only one line item for trade payables. However, if you see the Schedule 3, so basically we have trade payables bifurcated into dues to MSMEs and dues to other than MSMEs, right? Now that bifurcation was not done in V2 layout, same is carried in V3. So while pre-filling the information, since we only have the consolidated amount of trade payables, and system will not be able to identify whether it has to pre-fill against MSME dues or other than MSME dues, hence we've left that field as blank so that you can provide the bifurcation for the previous year numbers as well, which means a trade payables amount which you had given in any V2 filing will not get pre-filled in V3 form. However, going forward, if you have done any V3 filing and now you want to go ahead with subsequent years V3 filings, it will get pre-populated automatically. But for now, for V2 SRNs, the trade payables and other income will not get pre-filled automatically, because other income also, it is a single line item in V2 system, where other income is bifurcated into some 4 or 5 line items in V3 system. So, and also one more point here. So as we've said, all these validations of auto calculations, mandatory fields will happen only when you upload the Excel. At least you have to make sure all these pointers are covered in your Excel. That is including your matching of your total assets and total liabilities. Suppose if you give different number of total assets and total liabilities, you will not get any error here. You will get an error at the time of upload. So please make sure to just follow the instructions and fill in the data for all the mandatory fields, and make sure that auto calculations are working correctly, especially with respect to total assets and total liabilities. Yeah, Ankit, go ahead.
Next, you have to give the breakup of the balance sheet items in balance sheet parameters. First, you have to give details of the long-term borrowing. Similar, the previous year data is pre-filled, and for the current year, it is mandated to give details for all fields. If it is not applicable, you can enter the 0, and then you have to give the details of the short-term borrowing. And if you want to change the any data prefill, you can change, and reason for changing the prefill data is optional. And the sum of the long-term borrowing and short-term borrowing should be equal to the borrowing you have given in the balance sheet. If you are either this sum is not matching, you will get error at here the value is invalid. Similar in the details of the long-term loans and advances, previous year data is already pre-filled, and you have to give the details of the current year reporting period, which is mandatory for every cases to give. Every filter are mandatory. If it is not applicable, you please enter 0. And then also the sum of this long-term loan and advances, unsecured, considered good, and doubtful, should be matching with the total you have entered in the long-term advances in the balance sheet. If it is not matching, that you will get error at here. The total. Then you have to give the detail of the trade receivable. You have to give breakup of the trade receivables, which is secured, unsecured, doubtful. The sum will be auto calculated. And in the row number 5, net trade receivable, it should be equal to the value entered in the balance sheet.
So for these schedules, just to want to highlight, as far as trade receivables are concerned, you have to, so whatever the total receivables that we are getting here, it should exactly match with your balance sheet number. Again, this validation will not happen on the Excel. You have to make sure that your total trade receivables is matching with your balance sheet, and please cross check. That is why we are asking you to open this document or the offline help kit simultaneously, so that you can read the instructions and read the validations, so that you can avoid all these Excel upload errors while uploading the Excel. And for long-term advances or unsecured or secured, whatever, there also we have certain validations. It should be, the value should be less than, at least less than or equal to the value that you reported in the balance sheet. All those validations are written in the help kit and this PDF document also. Yes, Ankit, go to the next slide.
This is the financial parameter of balance sheet. All sections is mandatory. If it is not applicable, you have to give 0. 0 is mandatory. And
yeah, it is very, very important point to highlight. All the 47 financial parameters of balance sheet are mandatory for all type of companies, whether Schedule 3 is applicable or not also. If the Schedule 3 is not applicable, also you have to report these numbers. And if any line item is not applicable to you, you have to at least enter 0. Else you will get an error at the time of Excel upload.
And the parameter 5 and parameter number 6 and 7, paid up capital held by foreign companies and paid up capital held by foreign holding and or through its subsidiary. When you enter the value, the percentage value will be auto calculated based on the share capital you have entered in the balance sheet. Then you have to give the detail of the share capital raised during the reporting period. First, you have to give detail of the equity share at the beginning of the years, and entire table is mandatory. If value is not, if there is no value, you have to give the 0, except for the share premium amount. Share premium amount, you have to give the details only when the number of the shares are greater than 0. It is also written in the instruction kit. So we are recommending again that when you are filling the forms, once you should go through the instruction kit also. In the last column, other, if you mention any value at here, then it is mandatory to give details in the other specified.
Yeah, Ankit, go to the next slide.
Yeah, this is same. Here you have to give the detail of the preference shares. Now, the next section is statement of profit and loss account. Here also the last year data is getting pre-filled. If you want to change, you can change the information, and the reason for changing pre-filled figure is optional. And the date in the current year data is mandatory every cases, and previous year data is mandatory only when you have entered the previous year date in the balance sheet, and the date here in the previous year is also appearing from the balance sheet.
Yes, just to highlight, whatever the points that we've discussed for balance sheet schedule, balance sheet main schedule, all those points are equally applicable here. That is, whenever Schedule 3 is applicable, profit and loss account, this table will get generated. All the current year numbers are mandatory. All the line items are mandatory. If the field is not applicable to you, you please make sure to enter the 0. And previous year number, the same logic. If you've already done your filing, it gets pre-filled. Else, you can enter the previous year started and ended. Then you can fill in the data. Yeah, Ankit.
Yeah.
And you can see other income. As I mentioned, in V2 system, we had only one field called other income. Now this is bifurcated into 4 different line items. Hence, other income of the previous year, other income field from previous year data will not get pre-filled. You have to bifurcate and provide the data. And whenever you are changing the previous year numbers, make sure that your calculations are correct, especially with respect to the balance sheet, total assets and total liabilities. And in case of profit and loss account, it will get auto-calculated. You can just check your total income with your previous year filing or previous year financial statement just to make sure that there is no discrepancy. Yeah, Ankit.
Yes.
And
Ankit,
when
you're
you
not
cover this, we
Yes.
can go to the next step. Yes, ma'am.
Ankit was not audible.
Ankit, go. Can you please
Yeah.
be a little louder?
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the next part of the PNL. We have the same validations which we have informed earlier. Next, you have to give the breakup of the PNL parameters. First, we have to give the details of the detail of earning in foreign exchange. If you have any earnings in the foreign exchange, you have to give the details here. And similarly, you have to give the expenditure of the foreign exchange. The details given here will be pre-filled in the next section I will show. Here, in financial parameter, profit and loss, proposed dividend, you have to give the proposed dividend and details. Earning per share, basic and diluted is pre-filled from the PNL. And similar income in foreign currency, expenditure in foreign currency, it should be equal to the value in the earlier tab here.
So what we are trying to highlight here is there is one schedule called forex income and foreign exchange income and foreign exchange expenditure. This is a schedule, and whatever the total that is coming here, you have to report the same total in the financial parameter line item 3 and 4. In case of online form, it gets pre-populated automatically from those tables. But in case of offline, since it is offline form, it will not get pre-populated automatically. You have to make sure to enter the same number that you are given in your previous schedules if you have any income from foreign currency and expenditure in foreign currency, so that you will not get the error at the time of Excel upload. Yeah. Ankit, you can go to the next.
All the fields are mandatory. You cannot
Yeah.
leave the field blank. You have to enter the value 0. It is not applicable. Now, detail related to principal product or service. You have to give the number of service activities. Based on the number of activities, you have to give details in the Excel. And your total turnover should be matched with the turnover you have entered in the PNL. If the turnover is 0, then turnover is 0, then you have to mention the number of activity as 0. Because when you are mentioning any activity, it is mandatory to give the value in turnovers other greater than 0. Now, next section is related to miscellaneous section 6, segment 6.
Ankit, please little be louder. Sorry.
Yeah. In web form, if we mention the number of observation 1, then in the field number 4, we have to give the details of the what are the qualification observation remarks made by the secretarial auditor. And in the field 5, we have to give details of the secretarial auditors, such as the category.
Ankit, we can't hear you. Hello?
Next factor is declaration. It is mandatory in every case that we have to give the declaration as form should be attested by the director of the secretary or IRP or resolution professional or liquidator. Then we have to give the detail of the certificate professional. It is mandatory only for the it is not mandatory for small companies. Other than small companies, it is mandatory. And in case of you have selected company secretary, then you have to give only the COP number. And if you are selected other than company secretary, that is chartered accountant or cost center accountant, then you have to give the only membership number. At online state, we are disabling the fields, but in offline, it is not allowed. So if you enter the both the field, when you upload, you will get the error.
So
So
what we are trying to say here is whenever the category of the professional is chartered accountant or cost accountant, enter only the membership number field. And in case of cost accountant, company secretary, only give the COP number. Don't give both the fields, whatever the category that you're selecting, because this validation can be checked only at the time of upload. Suppose you're selecting company secretary in practice and you're providing membership number and COP number, both system will throw an error saying that the membership number is not required. So just make sure to provide only one of the field depending on the category. That is for company secretaries, it is COP number. For chartered accountant and cost accountant, it is the membership number that you have to provide. Yeah, Ankit, go ahead. Go to the next slide.
after that you have to save this Excel and open the next link from Excel. So in our case, our next link form is extract of auditor reports. Yeah. In in field two, we have to select what are the whether adverse remarks, reservations, or disclaimers given by the auditors. We have selected the number of as two rows are generated. As I already informed, the maximum 20 rows can be generated, and if it is beyond 20, you can provide details in the optional attachments.
Just to highlight one important point here. So you can see the number of qualifications, reservations, adverse remarks, or disclaimer is getting pre-filled as 2 and it is disabled. And if you remember, we had given this 2 number as part of your our offline online web layout filling. So I'd given 2 number there. That is why only 2 rows are getting displayed. Suppose if you want to increase it to 1 or increase it to 3 or decrease it to 1 or make it as 0, you are not allowed to do here. You have to go back and change the number in the parent web form. So one thing we want you to make sure that all these numbers that you are giving in the online screen, make sure these numbers are correct. Otherwise, in some cases, system may generate the blank Excels after filling everything and you realize something. So we will explain you that edit form scenarios also. But our suggestion is make sure to give these numbers accurately to save a lot of time, because once you give a wrong number on the parent form, then you may have to generate the blank Excel again. You may have to fill in the entire Excel again. So just to avoid that, make sure to fill in the applicability of linked filings in parent web form, and the numbers that you're giving in the linked filing screens are accurate and correct. Yeah, Ankit, go ahead.
That next field is management responsibility and auditor responsibility, field 3 and 4. It is mandatory in every cases. You have to give details. And if you have some character limits which is not beyond the accepted character limits, you can just provide the extract and attach the report as an optional attachment. In the next section, because we have selected the caro is applicable, so what are the basic parameters they are appear, we have to select whether the on this parameter auditor comments are favorable, disclaimer, unfavorable, or clause not applicable. If auditor comments are disclaimer and unfavorable, then it is mandatory to give details of the comments provided by the auditors.
Again, this is also one of the important point to note. So whenever you are giving a disclaimer or unfavorable remark, make sure to comment on the line item. Else you will get an error saying that you have not commented. So all these points, again, all these pointers are available in the instruction kit and in the document that we have uploaded. So please make sure to fill in the data wherever it is required. Otherwise, system will throw an error as part of Excel upload. Ankit, go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Now we are done with extract of auditor's report.
Yeah.
Now we will go with extract of board's report.
As I already informed that based on the number of meeting we have entered in the web form, the rows will be generated in the Excel. and the maximum rows can be generated to 15. Beyond this 15, you have to attach the details in the optional attachments, and you have to give details of the date of meeting in the format of dd YY. If you are providing for any other format, when you upload the Excel, it will throw an error. Then this field number 3 or 4 is mandatory in every cases. Yeah. And you have to give details in all the fields which are applicable. And all sections of the board report will appear based on the some sections which are not applicable for small company, and OPC will not appear if we select in web form whether company is OPC or small company as on the end of the financial year. If we select no, then this section which is not applicable to the small company will appear in the extract of board report. Now as we have selected two qualification in the auditor report, based on the auditor reports, these two line will be generated, row will be generated in the board report also, where we have given that disclaimers or reservation in the auditor report also. Now we have to give detail of the comments given by the directors against the disclaimer reservations, but or reservations made by the auditor. In field number 8, we have to give the details of the qualification reservation, which we have also mentioned in the AUC4 at last, and we should match with the details provided in the AUC4. Like you have mentioned some details in the AUC4, and here in field 8 qualification reservation, adverse remarks or disclaimer in the secretary auditor report, you are mentioned something different, it will throw an error. So both should be matched. In the next column, you have to give the details of the comment made by the director against such observation of the secretarial auditor. Then you have to give details. These are mandatory. If it is not applicable, you have to enter the 0. Entire the required field 20F to 20H are mandatory. Then in this field statement, you have to give the number of the sexual harassment received during the years, disposed during the years, and complaint beyond 90 days. It is mandatory, and you have to give details. And now you have to also give details the number of employee as on the closure of the financial year. Uh, Based on you have to give the number of females, male, and transgender. Then the next party declarations. In this form is to be signed on only by the director, liquidator, IRP, or registered professional. Practicing professionals, you have to give details of the director, and practicing professional certification is not required for the board of director report. Once you fill the details for the LXS, you have to save, then save, and you have to upload in a sequential manner. First, we have to upload the AUC for Excel. Once you upload the AUC for Excel, if there is an error, a text file will be generated, and you have to text file will once you upload, if there is an error, it will appear in the red, and you have to click on the such error message. Then a text file will be generated, and when you open the text file, whatever the error in the Excel, it will appear, and you have to go to the field and rectify the Excel, and then upload again. And once you upload and it is validated, then our next sections upload button will be enabled. You have to upload in a sequential manner. Once you have completed all the parent form and link form, Excel is uploaded successfully. it will appear looked at it. You have to click on the submit button. Once you click on the submit button, then our attachment sections will be appear. First, you have to attach the section as which is required for the UC4. First one is the copy of financial statement duly authenticated as per the section 134, including auditor report and other documents. When we say financial statement duly authenticated as per section 134, we are saying that it is as where you have to attach board report also here. So here it is including board report, financial statement, and other all other annual reports part. And the maximum size we have updated to 10 MB. However, the total size of the UC4 cannot be beyond the 10 MB. So
So just
attachments.
to highlight here one point, as we've seen in the common enhancements, we said in V3, all the forms will have overall file size limit of 10 MB and each attachment file size limit is 2 MB, right? But now in AOC4 form, if we limit this attachment size limit to 2 MB, the company may face issues because their most major attachment will be your financial statements attachments, which may run into hundreds of pages, which may go beyond 2 MB also. Hence, we have relaxed that limit of 2 MB in AOC4, NBFC, and all AOC4 forms. And wherein we are saying that if you want to attach your financial statement, which is of beyond 2 MB, that is maybe it is 3 MB, 4 MB, or 5 MB, you can attach. But you have to make sure that overall file size limit, including all your attachments, is not going beyond 10 MB. It is similar to V2 where overall file size is 6 MB, right? It is similar to that. Here also overall file size limit is 10 MB. And attachment, whatever the restriction that we have in all other forms is not there here. Yeah, Ankit, go to the next slide.
Then you have to click on the submit. After submit, the next section attachment will be enabled. Then you have to extract of auditor report. Here you can upload maximum 5 attachment in the optional attachment field, and the overall size of form cannot be go beyond 10 MB. You can attach 2 MB optional attachments, and maximum 5 attachment you can upload. Similar for the extract of the board report, you can attach a file up to the 2 MB in optional attachment, and 5 attachment can be attached, and the overall cannot go beyond 10 MB. When at the last link form you click on the submit, then your SRN will be generated, and the SRN will be generated. Then you have to go to the panel again. If you click on the pending for actions, the form will be appear, and you can download. You can click on the download PDF button. The form will be downloaded in a zip file. After fixing the DSC in the PDF, you can upload. Now this is the edit form scenario.
Yeah, Ankit, I'll take it up this. So now this is what the process that you need to follow for filing offline forms. And we have highlighted what are all the important points that we need to know. And there is one more section where you, regarding the edit form scenarios, especially with respect to offline utility, at what point in time I can go and edit the form and what happens if I edit something. So we will just explain you in detailed manner, which is this information is already again available in the instruction kit. You can go through. And so edit form scenario, the first thing is, let us take one example. Suppose let us say user can edit the form by clicking on edit button on the application history. So whenever you are suppose for example on the parent web screen, and if you want to edit edit the form, you have to go to the application history, click on edit form, and then a pop-up message will be displayed when the user expands the parent form, accordion, or panel. So suppose let us say you have done something on the form and you've closed the screen, and now you are coming back from application history and you clicked on edit form screen. So what actually happens is when you click on edit form, your parent accordion will get displayed. And if you want to change any details in the parent form, so you have to click on edit form, and if you change anything in the parent form, all your applicable linked filings also would get reset. So that is why we are saying, please make sure whenever you are entering your basic information, be it as parent form or a linked filing, please make sure that all the details are correct. So that you can avoid this regeneration of the linked filing. So why we have to regenerate this linked filing is because we don't, I mean, system will not be able to reckon what exactly user is changing in the parent form. Suppose initially we had generated your Excel saying that your consolidation is applicability as yes, and now you go and select no, then we have to remove that. So all those calculations or the permutations or combinations would again happen if you go and change anything in the parent form. So that is why we are going to show one pop-up message. Do you really want to make any change in the parent form? This is what is going to happen. So this first thing that you need to know, if you have already filled in your parent form earlier and linked web screen form earlier, you've generated the Excel and you want to make any change in the parent form, this is the message that you are going to see. And only if you say yes, then only we will allow you to make the changes in the parent form. Okay, and now next scenario is basically the page displayed to the user will be based on the following scenario. What are different scenarios that I have? The first scenario number 1, if the user leaves the page after only clicking on save button on the parent accordion or panel. Suppose let us take a scenario. I have opened the offline web form and I filled something on the parent web screen layout and clicked on save. Because in parent layout, we have 2-3 save buttons. I have clicked something, I filled in something on the first page and I've clicked on save and I left the page. And then when you come back from the application history, what actually happens is only whatever the data that you have saved earlier, that page you will land, only that page data will get saved. And whenever you're coming back from the application history, you can go and fill in the next part. So you have not submitted the parent form yet. In that case, whatever you have saved, it will be retained and you can continue to fill in the parent web form. And since linked forms are not yet generated, there is no impact. You can continue and you can submit the parent form on basis that your linked filings will get generated. It is a normal process. The simple thing is, if you have already filled partial parent form and you close this page or screen and you are coming back from application history, whatever you have saved would retain and you can continue from there. This is the scenario number 1. Now go to the scenario number 2. Ankit, go to the next slide. Scenario number 2 is if the user leaves the page after clicking on submit button on the parent form or accordion panel. So this is the second scenario. Suppose, for example, you have filled in all your basic web screen fields of your parent form and you've clicked on submit also, and then you left the screen. Then what actually happens is all the forms accordions applicable to the user will be shown as per the last submission of the parent form. Whatever you filled in will be retained and it will be displayed to the user. And now if you click on edit form and if you want to make any change before clicking on submit, you can do that. And basis that your linked filings will get generated again. Suppose initially you must have submitted the form and your linked filings also must have generated. Now you're coming back from the application history and you're trying to edit any of the field in the parent form. Again, a new set of linked filings would get generated because you're making some change in the parent screen. Okay, this is about the second scenario. The third scenario, if user edits the linked form, suppose let us say as in our previous example, you have entered number of audit observations as 2. Now as part of Excel filling, I've realized that it should be 3 or it should be 1. Then what I have to do is now this number of observation part is not part of your parent section. It is part of your linked form section, right? Then you can go to application history, click on edit form, and you can go to that particular accordion or panel of that linked filing. In my case, it is extract of auditor's report standalone. Only there you will click on that icon and then you go and change the number. Only that linked filing will get regenerated again. So you will not lose your parent form data. If you've already filled in all your Excels, whatever you filled in, only those gets generated. But whatever the linked filing that you are changing, only that form will get reset. So this is what actually we wanted to explain. And there is one more exception. If you are making any change in the extract of auditor's report parent, the web screen, then your extract of e-director's report also will get reset because we will be populating your observations that are given in your extract of auditor's report into your board's report. There is a pre-fill logic involved there. Hence, if you make any change in the number of observations or CARO applicability after filling your Excels or after generating the linked filings, then we will be resetting your extract of auditor's report and extract of board report also. That is why we please make sure to give this number of observations and CARO applicability correctly so that you can avoid this blank Excel's generation while filling the form. Ankit, go to the next slide. So before we go for Q&A, so these are the few common awareness issues that we wanted to highlight. So PDF version incorrect. So please make sure to upload only the latest version. You can download, you can edit the form. Suppose let us say you've submitted the form after all your Excels and you've downloaded the PDF, and then you went and made some changes and again you've downloaded a different version, second PDF. So please make sure to upload the latest version of PDF, whatever is downloaded from the system. And if you try to upload the previous old version of PDF, you will get an error. And next is personal details mismatch. Name is not as per PAN or incorrect database. So this is especially coming in AOC for XBRL XML documents. Please make sure to give your name as per whatever is available in the PAN database in case of signatories, and in case of professionals as per your institute's database. And a very important point, invalid SRN of ADT1. So we have seen one section where the ADT1 SRN is required to be entered, wherein system will automatically pre-fill the entire data, right? So in V2 system, we had only one validation, that whether SRN is associated with the company or not. Now in V3, it is not just the association check. We will be checking whether this SRN is pertaining to the period for which you are trying to file the form. Suppose your auditor got appointed for a period, say from 20 to 25, we will accept only that SRN if you are filing for 24-25 financial year. Suppose if you are entering an SRN which is filed for 17-18 financial year and you are trying to refer that SRN here, system will throw an error. And we've got many representations saying that this error we are getting as part of form submission at the final submission. Why can't you throw this message as part of your web screen submission only? Accordingly, we have taken up this change, and now in offline utility, if SRN is not valid, you will not get this error at the time of final submission, which leads to your changing your data of parent form, and again it will lead to a resubmission of entire refilling of entire linked filing. So to avoid that scenario, so we have implemented this check of ADT1 validity at the time of web screen only. So so that you can, if there is any error, you can correct this error then and there only. Okay, so then incorrect reference of while filing ADT1 SRN. So please make sure to provide SRN of ADT1 while filing ADT1 for casual vacancy scenarios. Don't refer ADT3 SRN. You are required to report ADT1 SRN. This is for ADT1 form. Invalid PAN of the auditor in ADT1. This is again, user is getting error of invalid PAN while filing sole proprietor. So whenever ADT1 is getting filed, and you are trying to give a same PAN number by selecting a proprietorship firm, wherein proprietorship is basically a firm. There also you are getting an error saying that same PAN cannot be referred. So please change the category to firm in that case. And there is a separate creative available on MCA portal. And please go through all the FAQs that are available on MCA portal. Each and every line item that we have discussed here are actually drafted in the form of FAQs also for your quick reference. Ankit, go to the next slide. DSC issues. Again, if you are getting any issue of DSC not registered or DSC is expired, please make sure to use the latest DSC software. Ensure your role is correct. DSC is not expired. Check that all DSCs are valid and appear in green tick before you are submitting the form. User ID already exists while creating the user ID. This is again a common awareness issue. So use forgot user ID to recover your user ID and reset your password. User ID is already exists while updating role in professional user. In those cases, use forgot ID to recover your ID and then reset the password, or use the merge user ID functionality so that you can merge one of the V2 ID with V3 user ID. And profile update required. So if you're trying to fill in any form with the director role and your SIN is not coming in the form of a drop down for your selection, please make sure to go and click on update profile so that latest associations will get displayed in the form of drop down whenever you're filing any form with a director or designated partner role. Multiple tab open issues. Please make sure to use only one single tab in one browser to avoid all DIN prefill or PAN prefill issues that we are facing currently. So please make sure to use only one single tab in one browser. If you want to use your MDS or something, try to open a different browser and access the MDS from there. So list of shareholders not appearing in MGT7 form. So as this is again relating to MGT7. So if the list, as we mentioned in case of MGT7, list of shareholders will not appear in PDF form because we have allowed up to 300 MB, and that will be stored in the database directly. It will not be displayed. It will be displayed as a line item, but you will not be able to open and see the data. And now for MGT7 and 7A, if there is any type of company or class of company is changed, suppose let us say your company is private company as at the financial year ended, but as on date it is public or vice versa. So please make sure to change the class accordingly. System will ask you to enter the minimum number of directors or whatever the validations. Everything will be driven on that selection. If there is any change, please make sure to provide that effect of what was there as at the end of the financial year by selecting that drop down which is available for category, subcategory, class of the company, etc. Declaration field to mention DIN of the director is disabled if selected as in field number MGT15. So whether, Ankit, you want to take it up this? Hello, Ankit, please go to the previous slide. Hello.
Hello.
Ankit, please explain point number 13 quickly.
In this case, the user selected yes in the field 36 whether chairman of the meeting is appointed, then declaration field to enter get disabled. If
So basically what we are trying to say is if you've selected chairman has signed MGT, chairman has attended the meeting and he wants to fix the DSC, then director DSCs will not be enabled is what we are saying. So if the chairman is selected in MGT 15, so only chairman's DSC is required. And then the save button is not visible in AOC 4. So whenever you are coming back from application history, we are getting complaints saying that save button is not applicable. That is especially for online forms. So you need to please click on each save button available. First, you have to click on the first save button and then go on. So then only you will be able to edit the respective fields. If you are coming back from application history, please do a Control F and click on a type save so that you can see the save. You can access the different save buttons across the page that are available in the form. Change in the email ID of the company or LLP in master data. So please note that currently we are not updating email ID and email ID of the company or LLP through any of the forms, unlike in V2. So you may have to do this through profile update page by using company user role. Currently, that is only the option that is available. Else you may have to raise the CRF. Ankit, go to the next slide. That's it. Okay,
yes.
Ma'am, can we take up the questions, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, we can have the questions now. So let me ask the very first question with you that after implementation of amended definition of small companies, we are not able to file MGT7 or MGT7A. Error appearing in MGT7 that company is a small company, please file MGT7A. And while filing MGT7A at the time of mentioning the turnover, yes, error is appearing that the turnover shall not exceed 40.
So ma'am, actually just to update you, so we have fixed this issue. So now if the point number 1, from system point of view, small company logic is getting checked as on the date of filing. So as on date, if your company is flagged for small company flag as Y, so you are expected to file MGT7. And regarding this blocker, wherein because we have increased the threshold limits from 4 crore to 10 crore for capital and 40 to 100 for turnover. So there was a blocker saying that suppose we have already updated the logic of small company in our system. Hence, whatever the companies which are falling under this extra bracket are actually marked under small company logic already in the system. And MGT7 changes were in progress till yesterday, wherein users were getting the issue. So now this issue has already been deployed to production yesterday. Suppose now if your turnover is already crossed, is less than or equal to 100 crores and your small company flag is already Y, you are expected to file MGT7A. And we are checking this information as on the date only.
Okay, so as on the date, if the company, as on the date, if a company is a small company, they need to file MGT7A, right? Is this interpretation correct?
So, ma'am, I will give you 2-3 examples. There are multiple scenarios basically. So, first point is, suppose let us say currently your company is flagged as small company in the system. Depending on your previous year filings, or depending on your paid up capital that you changes that you've done in the system through past year, whatever the forms. Currently, let us assume your company is flagged for small company. And now, as part of your filing, your turnover has already crossed more than 100 crores, for example, during the current financial year for which you are trying to file the form. Then in that case, what we have suggested earlier also, and which is already there in the FAQ, first go and file your AOC 4 form by providing your details so that your turnover details or the holding or subsidiary details flags will get updated accordingly, or small company flag will get updated automatically. And then you can proceed with MGT 7 or 7A depending on the applicability. So if you can file your form in a sequential manner such that if there is any change, initially your company was a small company, now it is not, or vice versa, just give that effect in the form through AOC 4 form first, and then go with MGT 7 or MGT 7A.
Okay.
Ma'am, so
Ma'am,
regarding small companies, just wanted to highlight there we have added some 3-4 FAQs in a detailed manner. What all key pointers that they need to consider. Please go through. We would request all the stakeholders to go through those 3 FAQs and then file the form. Regarding this blocker, yes, there was a blocker till yesterday because of a system is not allowing either MGT 7 or 7A. That blocker has been removed. Now they can go ahead and file MGT 7A. And one more issue that we have identified regarding this increase in threshold limits is about MGT 8, ma'am.
right.
So MGT 7 may, so basically if your paid up capital is equal to or more than 10 crore, or turnover is equal to or more than 40 crores, so your system is asking MGT 8, but wherein the section itself is not there in MGT 7A, which form is required to be filed? Just give us some time because MCA, it is under consideration with MCA, so we will update you in the form of FAQ and creative. So mostly we will be asking the user to attach MGT 8 in the form of MGT 7A, because from system point of view, they have to file MGT 7A only. So what is the process to attach this MGT 8? We will be updating you maybe in maybe today or tomorrow. So that will come in the form of an FAQ and a creative, ma'am. These 2 points I would want to highlight.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, another question we have is regarding MGT 7A shareholders list. Can we file details in shareholder list without validation sheet?
Yeah.
Validation sheet require PAN, etc. of the
Yes,
shareholders,
ma'am.
which are not available with the company.
So it is up to the users, ma'am. So if you want to choose without validation, you can go ahead. And there is no predefined format for without validation sheet. You can use your own format and you can upload the Excel. There is no restriction for the current year to use only with validation Excel. It is up to the stakeholder, and they can go ahead, definitely.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, what should be mentioned under share capital reporting during the year total nominal capital in AOC for online?
Sorry, ma'am. So if there is no increase, yeah, Ankit.
No, in total nominal capital, you have to give details of the total nominal capital of the all shares, not per share per share.
Okay. In another question we have is, if any form which is duly approved later on comes to the knowledge of the applicant of an inadvertent error, how can the error be rectified?
So, ma'am, actually, if the form is mostly these forms, MGT 7 and 7 are pure STP forms, and AOC 4 is conditional STP, but predominantly it is STP form, ma'am. And if the form is approved under STP mode, and if there are any clerical errors, they have to approach the concerned ROC, and there is a functionality called marking the SRN as defective. So you have to mark that SRN as defective, and then only you can go and file fresh form. Because per year only one form is allowed for AOC 4, and for MGT 7 and 7A, revision we are allowing, but only the condition is in the original form you have to select AGM held as no. Only then we will allow the revision. So normal clerical mistakes ke liye, if you want to try to file revised filing for MGT 7 or 7A, it is not allowed, which was allowed in V2. Now in V3, revision is subject to the condition that you have selected AGM applicability or AGM held field as no in the initial form. Only then revision is allowed. This is also one point that we want to highlight.
Okay. Ma'am, while preparing offline AOC 4, an error occurred to AOC 4 CFS. In Excel of the AOC 4 CFS, proper registered office address appears, but on generating PDF, address removes the comma, and which due to which error is being generated.
Ma'am, if possible, can you please share the ticket number? It could be a user-specific issue. We will check and get back if you can share the ticket number.
Sure, we will share the same. Next question is, ma'am, do we still require to attach signed copy of MGT 8 when it is already included in the form and DSC of the professional attached in it?
As per the MCA's requirement, the everything is now in the form of digitized format, so it is not required. But if users still want to attach, they can definitely go ahead and attach in the optional attachment. MGT 7.
Okay. Ma'am, in MGT 7, Section 6, in the segment on shareholding pattern, the e-form seeks the breakup of the total number of shareholders in male, female, or transgender and other than individual. But the query is that from the depositories, this data is not available. So, what is to be done in this case?
So, ma'am, it is again the common question which we have been receiving from past few months. So, right now, ma'am, as per MCA's requirement, the section is mandatory, wherein in the attachment we were asked to make this field as optional. But when it comes to online, the form layout after shareholding pattern section, you have to provide the information. If your depositories are not available, are not able to provide this information, at least approximate number, whatever the information that to the best of their knowledge they can provide, and they can give this explanation in the form of attachment saying that optional attachment saying that the depository is not having this information. This is the information that we know as per our knowledge. Karke, they can go ahead and upload the form. At least the approximate number let them is required to be provided. And this explanation can be provided in the form of optional attachment that this information, accurate information is not available with NSDL or CDSL. I think this problem is coming especially from NSDL, I guess.
Okay. Next question is how to file CSR2 form for financial year 24-25. Separate filings for CSR2 is not allowed from 24-25. Is it to be filled as a linked form to?
Linked form,
Yes. It will be there as a linked form. Okay. Why the status of AOC? This is also user specific, but I would like to ask that the status of AOC4 is shown as registered instead of approved.
So
And
so basically, ma'am, registered or approved are both are similar statuses, but in V3 system for all the STP forms, most of the STP forms will have a status called registered because as such there is no approval is happening from ROC users end, right? And moreover, if you see the layout of the notified form also, it says has been taken on record. The form has been taken on record, so it is basically the MCA's call to change that status to show it as registered. But from stakeholders' point of view, please read that as same as approved. There is no difference between approved or registered. Both are same.
Okay. Ma'am, if any related party transaction falls within the purview of an accounting standard but does not cover under Section 188 of the Companies Act, so do we need to fill yes in the segment 3 disclosure about related party transaction in AOC 4 and how to report these transactions to ROC?
Ankit, can you please take up this change? This
In
question?
AOC2 currently we have to report only those transactions which are covered under Section 188. If such transactions are required to be reported under Section 188, then only we have to select the yes and provide details in the AOC2. And in this case, the transaction is not covered as per the Section 188. It is covered as per the section of accounting, as per accounting standards. So user have to select no whether the accounting related parties transaction is entered, and he can provide the details in the optional attachment in the UC4.
Okay. Another question is AOC4 XBRL filed with giving subsidiary details as the company is a holding company. But for the holding company, the system is not allowing to file MGT7. It is asking them to file MGT7A.
Ma'am, again, this could be a specific user issue. So if they've reported their holding and subsidiary company details as part of filing AOC4 XBRL and that information is already available, then definitely your small company, holding and subsidiary flag gets updated and accordingly your small company flag. So if you can share the ticket number, we will analyze their AOC4 XBRL XML document and we will check and update, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. Another question is, if I accidentally select the radio button or drop down option for certification by professional and save it, is there any way to correct it or do I need to file a fresh AOC4 form?
You can go from application history and you can edit the field, ma'am. So, but you have to click on save all the existing panels until the time you go to the end of the panel, and there you can edit it.
Okay. Ma'am, queries regarding MGT7A related to template download for holding subsidiary, associate, and joint venture. When we download the template of holding company and after filling up all the details of the company, there is no option in the drop down for holding.
Okay, Ankit or Yash, can you please take up this chain? Otherwise, ma'am, if you can share the ticket, we will examine, ma'am. But definitely that should be there. So because it is the common section that is available for holding subsidiary joint venture, so we will check why it is not appearing for that particular user.
Okay, ma'am. Another question is for regarding ADT1. It is for the appointment of statutory auditor in casual vacancy. ADT1 was filed on 26th June 2025. And the period of appointment was erroneously mentioned as 1st April 2025 to 31st March 2026. But later on, the CRF form was filed to correct the period of the appointment from 1st April to 30th September, being the AGM. But when we are there, when we are trying to file ADT1 for appointment of 5-year terms, MCA is still showing an error that appointment for period 1st April 2025 to 31st March 2026 is already filed despite of CRF form approval. So now please suggest how to file ADT1 for 5-year terms, that is 1st April 2025 to 31st March 2030.
Ma'am, again, it could be a user specific issue. Just to, but
Yeah.
Seema, you want to take it up?
I want to take it up. Ma'am, first and foremost, the period of appointment may be from first, as per the law, it is for the from one AGM to another AGM, but the period for which they are appointed is for the financial year only, right? It is for the financial year they are being appointed. So getting a CRF and correcting the period for the appointment, I don't think so. It is a correct way of doing it. Can you just please share the this thing ticket with us, and we'll come back to you on this particular case. Let us have a look into it, and it may be a very user specific case. I need to understand it more before I give you a reply onto this one.
Okay. Another question is why does AOC 4 CFS form for a small company ask for professional signature? The same was not the case since the last year.
So currently, so ma'am, so I got your point, but right now, as per the requirement, is a professional certification is mandatory for the CFS form. Yes, CFS may come into the system because of associate or joint ventures, but as of now, it is mandatory, ma'am. But we will take it up this matter with MCA and we will make it as optional, but that may take some time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Ma'am, another question is whether paid up capital entered in AOC 4, MGT7, MGT7A will change the master data appearing in the MCA?
Yeah, well, so ma'am, so as far as V3 is concerned, for paid up capital update, AOC4 or AOC4 XBRL or AOC4 NBFC will not update your paid up capital, point number one, because now in V3 system, we have introduced the concept called class-wise capital master, right? So, but wherein AOC4 form or AOC4 NBFC form is not capturing the capital with class-wise information. Hence, we have actually blocked the update of paid up capital through all these three forms. And there was one more problem with respect to Ind AS, wherein only the XML field has only the field for equity share capital, but preference portion was not getting added into that field because the XML field itself is not available. And accordingly, when we update the paid up capital, only equity portion was getting updated. And all these forms were going to non-STP as if the capital is reduced. So because of all these reasons, as per MCA's requirement, we are not updating your paid up capital through any of the AOC4 forms. But however, MGT7 and MGT7A through paid up capital gets updated. But please make sure that if you are trying to add any new class within the form, suppose you already pre-filled two classes and simply add a class and provide some capital values, that class will not get updated in your master. Only if you have given any changed capital, suppose if you have some partly paid up shares initially and which was showing 1 lakh initially, and for that class you have made the full final call and you have paid up capital increased to 2 lakhs, and if you can report that value, we will go and update. but no class creation will happen through MGT 7 or 7A. This is also is covered in FAQs. So all these pointers, whatever we have explained for paid up capital are available in FAQs also. Please, all the stakeholders are requested to go through the FAQs, ma'am.
Vijay, I just want to add a point out here is that if you already have a share class master, and in that case the classes are available as Vijay has said it correctly, only those classes will get updated and your paid up capital will get updated to those classes which you have already reported in MC system. But supposedly you do not have a share class master, that is that you have not filed SS7 or Pass 3 in the V3 regime, then in that case, your company master will get updated for the paid up capital. However, no share class master will be created through your MGT7 or MGT7A. So very important relevant point out here is that no class is going to get either created or updated through MGT7, even if you give it in how much detail, it'll be only be created through SS7. That is what the because for any alteration in authorized capital, you have to file SS7. That is why we are not allowing that to happen in the system.
Okay. So, ma'am, we are done with the questions, and now I would like to place a formal vote of thanks to you for this detailed deliberation on this vital annual filing offline utility and trying to resolve the issues that members and stakeholders are facing in this crucial time. So, on the behalf of the ICSI, I would like to place a formal vote of thanks to the Shashi Rasdara sir from DG office, the LTI technical team members, and our central council member CS Ashish Karoria for taking time and try to resolve the issues of the stakeholders. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.